Hey guys, welcome to WP Academy. In this video tutorial, I'll convert this Figma file into a fully functional and interactive WordPress website using Elementor Page Builder. I'll also show you how to implement some amazing animations using custom CSS codes that are also provided along with the video. So if you are interested in improving your design skills and to learn how to convert Figma files into WordPress websites, then keep watching this video. And if you are watching this intro video on social media, then check the video description or comments for full video tutorial. So let's get started and make sure you have subscribed to the channel and hit the bell icon so you won't miss any amazing video tutorials from us. Okay, so welcome and let's get started. And before moving forward, let's discuss the prerequisites for this tutorial. First of all, you should have existing experience of Elementor page builder and basic understanding of Figma, because I am not going to teach you Figma or Elementor in this video tutorial. Instead, I am going to just show you how to convert this landing page design from Figma into Elementor. And if you don't have any existing experience of Elementor page builder, or you are not familiar with the basic settings and options of Figma, then you should learn those first and come back to these design tutorials later on, because in these design tutorials we just replicate these designs into WordPress using Elementor. So I'll try to explain some stuff during the designing process, but I'll drop links to some basic tutorials about Figma that you can watch before coming to this video. And for Elementor, you should have a good amount of experience while building with Elementor. So if you are still here, then let's get started. And before starting, download this style guide from the video description that we'll be using during this tutorial. I have provided the information regarding colors, typography, and the CSS code that we'll be using later on in this tutorial. And the Figma file link is available in the video description. Open this Figma file in your browser, and I close this main page. Now this is our Figma file. You should probably land to this thumbnail section. You need to navigate to the design. Then there are these groups and layers on the left side, and document settings should be available on the right side. And for the WordPress setup, I have installed Elementor and Elementor Pro. Elementor Pro is not required. I'm going to replicate all of this using the free version of the Elementor, but the header and footer builder part is dependent on the Elementor Pro. I have it, so I am using the Elementor's Pro version, but you can use third-party plugins like Astra's header footer builder to build the header footer with a free plugin as well. So, but I am more of a single solution guy. I try to stick with the Elementor's core features instead of using so many third-party add-ons. And secondly, I have installed and activated this SVG support plugin, because we are going to export some assets like these animations that we are going to create for this circle. So WordPress default media library does not allow you to upload SVG files directly into the media library. However, Elementor's editing screen have capabilities for uploading SVG images, but that are restricted to some specific widgets only. Like you need to use an icon widget specifically to upload SVG files. But if you want to upload SVG files directly into the WordPress media library, then you should install and activate some SVG plugin. There are a couple of them. I have installed this one, SVG support, and I'll provide the link to all of these tools or plugins that I am going to use in this video tutorial in the video description. So do check that. So now without further wasting our time, let's start replicating this design into Elementor. To do that, I'll create a new page. I'll call this home and change the template to Elementor full width, and I am using Hello Elementor with Elementor Pro. You can use any theme of your choice. Let's navigate to the settings, reading, and I'll set this home page as the front page of this website. So let's now edit this page with Elementor. And for now, let's switch the page layout to Elementor canvas. So after we have designed this hero section, then we can design the header or footer later on. We should start building our page first. So let's just publish this one, and before starting your design, you should always implement your style guide in your global colors and fonts, so you won't have to copy paste them or reuse them during the design process. It will make your job a lot easier if you set your global typography and fonts and colors beforehand. So for typography, I'm going to use Poppins. Navigate to the global fonts, primary Poppins, and secondary should also be set to Poppins because they are also used in headings. And for accent, you can choose between Open Sans and Poppins. I'll use Poppins because in the buttons and etc. the accent text will be used. For text, I'll use Open Sans. And then you can set a fallback font family, which is provided over here. You can set this to sans serif. uh, Save, and then go navigate to the global colors. I have provided the colors for each of these locations. Just start copy pasting them. For primary, you can either click over here or you can also click over here. Okay, now these are the default system colors. Now we can add custom colors over here. Okay. Now, since we don't have any option to save the gradient colors, we'll use them during the design process. Okay, now go to the background settings and set the default background color that we have saved for the entire website. Save changes and then navigate to the layouts and change this default container width from 1140 to 1240, because now these days screens are larger, higher resolutions, so it should be at least 1200 pixels. Now let's start designing. We have a hero section over here. You can click on these groups from the left side, or they have further sub layers or subgroups. uh, let's see the height of this. It's around 1000 pixels. Okay, so I'll add a new container, and uh, I think we need to reload this screen once so we have the newer container width values. Okay, so we can start by setting it to like 900 pixels, and we can in the height can be increased depending on the content and the padding from top and bottom and etc. And first of all, we need to export this background image from this container. So open this group and then hide out these layers or subgroups. Then on the right side, navigate over here and export the file. Keep it 1x and png, and then export hero section. And now we have an image, the background image. And before moving it to the assets folder that you can download from the video description, I'll be providing you with the link with the assets, all of the assets that we are going to export from these Figma files or going to use in this landing page design for free. You can get the Figma design file, follow the video tutorial, export the assets yourself. And if you want to support our channel, you can follow the link in the video description and just pay anything you want from $1 to $100 to support us, and you will be able to download the assets folder that has all of these assets by the end of the tutorial ready for you to use. And now after exporting the file from Figma, you should not use as is. Like you can see, it's 700 KB plus file, so you shouldn't be uploading those large media files to your design. That will ultimately slow down your performance of the website. So there are a couple of websites like compress png. If you are exporting in JPEG format, they have JPEG version, GIF version. So I'll upload this over here, and then it will reduce the file size significantly. Like you can see, it's already reduced down from 713 KB to 400 KB, which is quite fine for an image of this size. I'm adding these images to the assets folder, so let me call it hero bg, and then go to the styles and upload your image file. Okay. You can set the position from top center, repeat to no repeat, and display size to either auto or cover. I think auto should be fine, but auto option is having some space from the left and the right. So cover should do just fine. Okay, and now we also have a border radius applied to the to this container from bottom right and bottom left. And I'll turn back these on and navigate to the border and border radius, unlink this, and from bottom then set to like 16 pixels or 2 pixels. Oh, sorry. You can also check the exact value from here in the corner radius option. Select the group for hero header section, and then you on the right side you get to see all of these properties, and you can navigate to this corner radius and just click on this button. Sorry, over here you can see how much of a border radius is set from each side. So it's 20 pixels. So let's just reduce this to 20 pixels to exactly match the Figma file. Okay, now close this one, and now we have a container for text and container for this robot and these icons and this image. First I'll create the static section, the static version, and then I'll also show you how to animate this, because these both will have different set of elements, different route that we're going to adopt while creating the animation. So you should have the both variants should you choose to use the static one or the animated one for your design. So first of all, let's select this container and navigate to the advanced, and I'll set a padding of like 100 pixels from the top. Okay, see, we need to have some space for the header from the top. So now inside this we'll have two further containers. I'll duplicate this one, and let's just To copy the text or select an element, you in the Figma, you just keep double clicking the layer until you reach the desired element. So since I have logged it in the design file, you can, let me just expand this one. There should be a lock that you can unlock by just a single click. Now if you keep double clicking, you will reach to the point where you can select the text and copy it. So now I'll add a heading element over here, and we'll use the H1 element, uh, align the text to the center. To break the text at any certain point, you can use the break tag. Okay, now let's change the styling. The text color is white. You can look for its exact size and weight, line height, and other settings from here, like letter spacing is set to -2%. I'll just set back it to the 0%. Okay, so it's 74 pixels and bold with 82 pixels of line height. So 72 bold, and line height is set to 82. Okay, so everything is aligned. Now let's copy its text, and the font size is 20 pixels regular with line height set to 30, and the color is obviously white. Normal is basically the regular variant. Since it's a single line, we don't need to set line height, but we can set depending on your requirement. Let's just leave it empty for now, so it should be set to auto. Okay, now for this container, when you are going to build the static variant, you can simply export these assets one by one, like this one separately, the robots separately, and this should be created using Elementor's container and buttons. So first of all, let me export this group. Select this group and navigate to the exports tab, and let's export it as 1.5x or 1x to be fine. Okay, so I'll when you are exporting this group from here, it will automatically cut down the circle from the available space, because the hero and header section is set to clip the content. If you turn it off and then you export this group from here, then it should have the complete circle. So it depends on how you wanna export this and how you wanna position this circle. If you want the full graphic, then you can turn off the clip content option from here, and we should export this robot as well. I'll select this, it's called dashboard. Go to export and export this. Okay, so now we have the robot and the circle both in the full version and the semi-cut version. And now let's navigate to the this group, and I'll turn on the clip content again. It's basically what we call the overflow hidden in CSS or in Elementor. So now we need to set a minimum height to this container as well. I'll call this 400, or let's call it 500, and select the parent container and go to layout, and we can justify the content to the end, so all the text and these containers should be aligned to the bottom. And then we can remove the padding from this container, and let me just increase the minimum height to like 550 pixels. Okay, so now the graphics, let me move these graphics. I'll call this bot, and I'll call this circle full and circle half. Okay, if you want to use the circle half that I'm going to use, select this container, navigate to the styles, and I'll set this one as a background. Okay, so position to should be set to bottom center, repeat to no repeat, and display size to uh, contain. So the circle should be visible all the time, and it will stay in the center of the container. And now we can add an image element over here, and then we can upload this bot image, and you can also compress this one, so it should reduce the size. Okay, but let me just upload this one first. If it seems blurry, then we can export the higher version. Okay, now I think it's fine. We just need to adjust the width of the image to like 400 pixels or 500 pixels, and navigate to the advanced tab and set the width to custom and pixels, and I'll set this to 500. Okay, now select this container and align the content to the center and end. Okay, so I think we should increase the width of the image. Let me just use the percentage, and let's just set this to default, and we should increase the size enough to fit this image as it can be seen in this Figma design. So 90, or we can set it to 100. I think 100% is already fine. That was by default. Now select the main container. I'll start renaming them. I'll call this one hero, and this one hero text. You can call this media, and select the parent container, go to additional options and set the overflow to hidden. Okay, now select this image, go to advanced, unlink this margin, and start giving this a negative margin. And if you want to avoid this negative margin, you can just simply export this robot as cropped like this. If you, I'll set this to 1.5x. Now if you export this, it will be automatically cropped to fit the size. So I'll call this, let me just reduce its size as well, and let's just cut this one from here. I am keeping all of the assets over here in this assets folder, so you can use as per your choice. So I'll call this one bot crop. Okay, now instead of using negative margins, let me just remove this one. We can upload this cropped image. Okay, so now you understand. Now you can simply increase or decrease the size of this image. I think 900 should be enough, and the bot fits exactly we want it. Okay, now we need to create this container that has these two buttons. So let me add a container over here, and can call this CTA. And to make them appear on top of this robot image, we can navigate to advanced and set the position of this container to absolute and to bottom. So now we can have the buttons inside, uh, and before that let's change it to column and set the align items to the center. Now we need to add another container inside this, and uh, okay, let's just adjust the width of this container to like 400 pixels. We can also check the width of this container. Like I have missed by a short. It's 414 pixels. So I think 400 pixels is enough. And if you want to exactly replicate the width, we can set it to 415 or 414 instead. So now select this container, and we need to remove the padding. I think, okay, this CTS section should also not have any padding, so the buttons will be stick to the bottom. Now for this container we need to set the background color. Okay, so this one, it's basically the primary color with 93% opacity. So go to styles, and I'll set the primary color, and then you can change its opacity. So there are not any percentages, times, or options to set. You can just adjust it by looking at it. Okay, so but you can use the CSS code over here. Just click on this RGBA link, and then in the Figma you have these options over here. You can set it, select the CSS, and then here is the complete CSS code with exact color value. So you can use this one as well, so it's exactly the same color. Now we have a border radius of 16 pixels assigned to this container. Go to border radius, and let's call this one 16 pixels. Okay, so now we can add buttons. First one, and we should increase the padding of this container, and then we also need to set its direction to row, and let's align these buttons to stretch, or set its width to full width, then align text to center. Okay, now we have this demo button. You can check its properties like padding from left right, and sorry, this is the spacing between these two elements, and this is the padding that you can adjust or see its horizontal padding and its vertical padding. So uncheck this, and Horizontal padding is set from left and right, which is 32 pixels, and the vertical padding is 18 pixels. Okay, and the border radius is set to 8 pixels. Okay, and background color is already set to the accent color that we wanted. And now for the text, and we also need an icon. You can set an icon from the existing media library. I believe Elementor's built-in library has a play circle, but if you want this exact icon play circle, then you can export this one in SVG format. So navigate, select this play circle and click on export, and instead of PNG, export this one as SVG. So I'll export this one and I'll copy this one over here, and let me arrange these assets into subfolders. Okay, so now you can upload SVG file over here. So it's exactly the same icon that is in the Figma file. So the text size is set to 18 pixels with 28 line height. So let me adjust that. And I think we should stick to the default line height. And you can adjust the icon spacing. I think it's 12 pixels. The gap between icon and the text is 12, and I think we should set it to 10. The size is pretty different on Figma files and these actual designs, and I have also set certain zoom level for these files and these files, so it should look different, but they are quite exactly the same. And since we do not have an option to change the icon size inside this button, so you will have to rely on the default output that it's generating, because it's picking the value from the font size. If you want to make the icon for 24 pixels wide, then the text should also be increased. So we'll stick with the font size of the text, and then maybe in the future, by the time you are watching this video, Elementor decide to add controls for this icon, like they probably should have from the beginning, to set a specific font size or value to width or height value to this icon inside the button. So enough talk. Let's navigate to the next button, which is the get app. I'll duplicate this one, and we'll call this get app, and this one is demo. Okay, now the get app button have a different styling and different button. I'll navigate to the button is set to default the primary color, and then let's export its icon, which is this one, zap. Select this one, go to export, and again the SVG format. Okay, now for the borders, let me just zoom it a bit. You can see this button have a gradient border, but by default Elementor or the default CSS does not have these capabilities to set the border color in a gradient. The border colors are usually set in a singular color. If you go to border solid, and you can see there is no option to add a gradient. And there are workarounds that one of them is use CSS approach, and for that I have already created the gradient border style for you that you can just copy from the given link. And you can also export this background as an SVG or image format, and then use this. You can use this whole graphic as an image to make it clickable. Or there are a couple of other ways that you can Google, but I have found this the easiest way, so you won't have to worry about that. You can these days you can simply ask ChatGPT or code generator tools to generate these codes for you. Just now you just need to copy this code, and I'll paste all of these codes into the customize. Since I am assuming you are building with Elementor's free version, so Elementor's free version does not have the option to add custom CSS on element level. So I am using everything that is available in the Elementor's free version. So navigate to the customizer and additional CSS, and then paste this code, and all you need to do is copy this gradient border class from here. And if you want to use different colors than these, then you can change it over here to these are the two color values that will make up a gradient. So now navigate over here, and all you need to do is edit this button, go to advanced and apply this class to this button. And we need to reload this page once. Since we have added the CSS code later, it needs to fetch the new code. Okay, and for some reason if the color doesn't show up, you can navigate to advanced and try changing the z index value to like 1 pixels. So now you can see over here. If I zoom it for you, you can see we have the gradient border radius, and to change its border width, let me just get back to 125 pixels, and I'll have to reload this one as well. So if you want to increase the border width, you can just adjust this negative margin from -1 to -2 pixels to -3 pixels. And you can also adjust the value from top, bottom, and left, right separately. Like from top, bottom, -1 is working quite good, and from left, right, it's -2 pixels. That is working quite right. So I'll copy this one and I'll update this here as well. So you will have the updated CSS code. You can also suggest other methods to apply these gradient borders. There are tons of ways, dozens of ways doing same stuff uh, in Elementor or even general CSS programming. So if you know a better way, you can let others know in the comments. So I think we are pretty much done here. Let me just zoom it back. And the last thing we need to do is let's just reduce the gap between these buttons a bit, like 15 or 10 pixels would be enough. Okay, so now we have this static version or variant of this hero section, and let's create this one as well so we can navigate further, or we can save this one as a template that if you decide to purchase this ready-made template, you will get that template as well. So let's just save this one, save as template, and I'll call this static hero section. Okay, Now, how can we make this hero section to animate the circles and the icons inside it? It involves custom CSS code that I have already created for you. You can just visit this link and just copy this whole CSS code from here, and I'll add it in the customizer. Okay, publish this one. Now select this container and I'll remove its background image, and we need to add an HTML element inside this container. First of all, select this container and go to additional CSS and make sure the overflow is set to hidden, and then navigate to the media and upload the SVG files that I have provided in the playground. You can simply export these from the playground. This is the outer circle. I have separated them for you so you can easily export these assets from this Figma file. Navigate to the playground, expand this group, and then here you can see this is the inner circle and this is the outer circle, and these are the icons inside that circle. And if you have downloaded the assets folder, you will also see these already exported in the HTML image icon section, because I have already created this CSS animation that we'll be using inside this Elementor. And to do that, we need to upload these assets. Like this is the inner circle, this is outer circle, and these are the icons, and these are the same files that I have exported from here. And for your comfort, I have provided you with these separate assets inside the Figma design file that is available in the video description, so you can easily export them and use them. Once you have exported those assets, you can simply let me move these from here to over here. Okay, now the icons inner circle and outer circle should be uploaded into your media library. And then in the CSS code where we have used these assets, these paths should be in the HTML. Okay, and let me provide you with this code as well. Okay, you should now find this HTML link in the style guide as well. Okay, just copy this HTML from here and drag an HTML widget anywhere in this container, and then paste this HTML code over here. Now, all you need to do is replace these image sources with the links in from your media library. So for what is this? This is outer circle. This is the link of your file. You can simply click copy URL to clipboard, and this is for outer ring. Replace this one, and then this is the inner circle. Copy and replace it with the inner circle source. Okay, now finally the icons, copy its URL and replace the icons.png with this path. Now we need to apply appropriate classes. Just copy this animated circle class and navigate to the advanced tab of this HTML widget. We should drag this HTML widget to this section over here and inside this media container. Okay, now navigate to the advanced tab of this HTML element and apply this animated circle class over here. And I think it has some typo. I'll publish this one. I'll correct this typo over here. Okay, let's publish this one and I'll update the CSS code in this file. Okay, now reload both of these screens. Okay, so now we have our animation working. I think we should move this image outside and I'll set this image position to absolute as well. Okay, so now align to the bottom and to make it appear on the center, you can just simply select this percentage from drop down and keep it 0 and align to the left. It will automatically be aligned to the center and we just need to make sure the proper z index values are in place, like 1 for this one, and for CTA we need to make sure that it's set to higher than 1, like 2, so it appear on top of that image. And okay, I think everything is fine. Or we can move this HTML element inside a container. Okay, align items to the center, and then instead of setting negative margin to this HTML element, we can set it on a container level, like it should work just fine. So I'll set this to negative, like 300, or to be precise, it's 400, or keep increasing or decreasing until you see it as fit. 375 or 360 pixels is enough. Okay, now the circle is behind these images. I just publish this one, and to further enhance the CSS code, you can modify it over here. Like if you want to have further spacing, these are the implementations. If you know CSS, then you can apply these or modify these CSS values. Like if you want to increase the space of the icons from top and left, then you can adjust over here, and you also need to adjust the left and right values from here. Okay, you can adjust it according to your requirement. Now we have a fully animated banner that we wanted to create with all of though those other implementations of this robot image and our container. And for this container, navigate to the styles, border, and I think we should remove the left and bottom border radius. So it should stick to the bottom with appropriate layout. Okay, now navigate to the design, and now we have this logos section over here. And let me just publish this one. And now I'll create a new container over here. And I'll add another container inside this one. And let's navigate and set a background color, border radius set to 12 pixels, and we have a border color set to this, that's accent color. And corner radius is set to 20 pixels actually. Okay, so now we just need to make sure that it overlaps. Go to advanced, navigate to the margin section and set a negative margin to this container and make sure it overlaps all of this content. So I'll set a z index value to 3. Okay, now we need to give this container padding from the bottom, extra padding from the bottom, like I can say 40 pixels or 60 pixels, and then adjust its negative margin to like 50 pixels to match, or I can see it's more than 50 pixels. That's decided when we add a logo over here. Let me just first export these logos, these groups over here. Each group is basically a single logo that you can export. Just click on it. If you want to use this, obviously you will use your own logos, but for the demonstration purpose, you can export the logos from here. Just navigate to export, and you can export it as you like if you want to use it as an image, then you can use image export. If you want to use it as an icon, you can use the svg export option. But I think image should be fine. Or let's try the svg variant first. Okay, drag and icon element over here, upload svg. Okay, now you can adjust the size. Okay, select this container, turn its direction to row, alignment to center. And if you feel the height is a bit too much, then you probably need to export it as PNG, and from here I export it to 2x, so it should look crisp. Now for logos folder, I'll delete this one and let's just use images. And for best practices, you should convert these PNG images into WebP format and then use over here. So now instead of icon, I'll use an image element, which should give us more control over the width and height of the image, and it should not have any vertical height issues. So now let's select the image resolution to full from here, and from here I think 150 pixels or 120 pixels should be enough. Now for this container we need some extra padding. You can compare the height with this one, like this. It's 112 pixels uh, height. You can set a minimum of 112 pixels over here if you want the exact same container, and then it should give you more control over the negative margins. So let's navigate to this container. I'll call this one logos, and then the negative margin should be 60. Okay, now everything is just fine. You can further compare it with the Figma file, and if you want to expand the width, then you can set this from box to full width. And then for this container, I set a width of like 95% to logos and align the content to the center. So it's exactly like it's shown here. Now I'll just quickly export these images, logos, and I'll add them over here. Okay, I think we are fine. Let's select this container and adjust the justify content to space between. So now we should have the logos equally. Let me just publish this one and reload for once. Okay. Okay. And if you have Elementor Pro, or I believe logos carousel, image carousel basically is available in the Elementor's free version. You can also use a carousel to apply to make a slider out of these logos, but I think the static version should be fine. Now next section in this Figma file is this features section, and that's pretty basic, nothing so fancy going around, no extra animation, so it should be fairly easy for us to replicate. So now let's create a new section over here. I'll call this one features, and in this features container we have two further containers, one for the headings and one for the cards. So I'll add another container. Let's call this headings, and duplicate this one and call this one cards. Okay, uh, let's align the content to the center. I think we should use div container for this one. Let's copy this one. Now we'll use heading, and let's use H2 for these main headings. You can use negative letter spacing to make the text uh, a bit squeezed. Okay, I think this paragraph or this container have a specific width like 768 pixels. So instead of this text, you can set width for this container. I think uh, go to width and set to pixels, and then set a width of like, I think 800 pixels should be enough, and select this features container and align the items to the center. So we should have the content aligned to the center. Sorry. Okay. Now let's just use the font properties from here. 16 pixels regular. So regular is basically the normal. Line height is set to 30 pixels. And let's align this text to the center. And you can further change the colors, like the text color is set to something like this. We can either adjust it on the global level, or we can create a new color variant like text default. Okay, or instead of doing this text default, I think we should replace the text color entirely with this color code. Go to settings and global colors, and then for this text global color value we should use this one. Save changes, close this one, and I think we are good to go. You can also compare the font weight, which I think we have already checked, which is regular. Now let's design these cards. Let me remove the padding from this container, and I'll add another container. Just double click it, it will add it inside this container. And let's call this one row, and change the direction to horizontal, and now we need to add further containers for each card. You can either add a container and add individual elements like icon, text, and its description, but I think there is a more appropriate way to do that with the icon box element. So in this row, uh, add the icon box and navigate to advanced and set a width to custom like 33%, and then I'll add some padding. Just keep double clicking. This is the parent container. Feature text, you can check its padding for horizontal and vertical. It's 20 pixels from left and right, and from top and bottom is it's 35 pixels. So the icon box by default does not have a padding option, so you need to go to advanced border, and then sorry, in the layout you can set a default padding. So from left and right, it's 20 pixels, and from top and bottom, it's 35. So let's just set 20 pixels overall, and then from top and bottom, we can change its values to like 35 pixels and 35 pixels. And now we also need to export these icons. In this Figma file, everything is broken down into subsections, layers, and groups. Nothing is fixed. You can change it according to your requirement, and you can easily access everything from these layers. This is highly uh, flexible Figma file that I have personally designed while learning Figma. So now let's just select this feature icon and go to export, and I'll export it as SVG. Feature 1. Now go to the content tab, upload SVG, and upload SVG. Okay, the icon is there. You can adjust the icon size from here. Like it's 48 pixels by 48 pixels, so I think 50 pixels is enough. You can set the exact value, and you can also increase it according to your preference. Okay, now we'll just copy the text from here to here, and you can adjust the tag, HTML tag for this heading. You can either set a heading HTML tag, or you can use a div container. Okay, now let's copy this. Okay, let me see the font properties. It's open sans, it's not accents. Font 20 pixels bold, so we'll do the same. 20 pixels bold. Line height set to 30 pixels. Oh, I think line height should not be set over here. And we can adjust the icon spacing, the space between icon and the text. Okay, and the content spacing. It's 14 pixels regular, and this text color is a bit different. So go to content, and for color, I'll set this color over here, and then I'll let me just copy this one again. And then I'll save this color here as well. Sorry, I think we have applied it on the wrong location. It should be over here. And I think it's text default and secondary text. These are the same colors. We have saved them for no reason at all. Okay, so now font size over here. Line height set to 24 pixels. I think we can increase the size of the heading a bit. Okay, so let's publish this one. Let me go to the settings, and let's go to the global colors, and let's delete this text default and this secondary text. These are basically the identical colors over here. So let me close this one. Okay, now lastly we need to set a background color. Again, this icon box does not have an option to set the color on the box level from the styles tab. You need to go to the advanced background and then we can set a white color as the background. Now let's look at the corner radius, border radius basically, that is 12 pixels, and let's see if we have radius option over here. No, so we'll have to go to advanced border, and border radius should be set to 12 pixels. Okay, now everything matches, just we need to set a box shadow on mouse over. So you can set it over here and you can see the drop shadow over here, and it's this color with 12% opacity and spread to -16 and position from x-axis to 0 and from y-axis to 24 and blur set to 48. So we'll have to match the values. First of all, I'll set the color over here. Okay, and then for 12%, I think we can copy the exact code from here. Just click on this color and this pop-up will appear, and you can use this CSS option to copy the exact CSS code instead of guessing around, and select RGBA from here, and then you can add in the value over here, and then from x-axis is 0, from vertical it's 24 pixels, blur set to 48, and spread to -16. Okay, this is exactly the box shadow color, but we have applied it on to the normal behavior, that but we should have applied it on the hover. So let's just do that again. Let me reset it, go to hover, and we'll apply this over here again. 24 pixels vertical, 48 blur radius, and -16 pixels spread. And then for the color, we can paste in the color that we had copied earlier. Now the box shadow will appear on the mouse over. Okay, so I think that's fine. Now let's just duplicate, and we have 3 boxes over here, and then just duplicate this row and we have it over here. And instead of duplicating, when you have these multiple similar containers or boxes or widgets, then before duplicating them, you should fix their responsive issues before even duplicating them, so you don't have to adjust those issues one by one when you are navigating between screens. Like for tablet, I think it should be set to uh, its width should be set to 50%. So we should have two equal uh, cards, but they will obviously have issue when breaking down the rows, since we are using 3 cards for each row. Or we can try something like breaks. Let me show you what I really mean. Navigate to the desktop, and since we are going to have 6 cards, let me just show you what we are going to use. Duplicate 1 2 3 4 5 6. Now all we need to do is go and navigate to the row and set this to no wrap. And now we need to adjust the width, because it has some gaps and spacing that is involved, so exactly 33% won't fit these cards side by side or 3 in a row. So we need to set to it like 32% each. Paste style. So now for 32% width, we have 3 cards in one row. Now I'll just paste the style on all of the other cards. So now we have, instead of duplicating rows, we can manage it in a single row. Now navigate to the tablet mode. That's why I asked you to set different width values. Now 50% won't work. We'll have to adjust it to like uh, four, uh 49 or 48% to exactly fit these cards, two cards for each row. So now let me just copy, paste style, paste style, paste style, and paste style. So now we have two cards in each row for tablet, and then for the mobile. Let's don't pay attention to these. We'll fix all of the responsive issues later on. And for mobile, we should have a full width, 100% width for each card. Just copy, paste style, and paste style, and paste style. These were pretty simple cards, but if you have a complex structure or layout, then you should toggle between these responsive screens and design your one element that should fit everything on each of this screen. Then you should start duplicating them, so you won't have to make changes on each of them when you are fixing the issues. So I hope this helps. Now I'll just quickly export the icons for each card, and I'll copy paste the text. Let's just decrease the space between the headings and the text. And let's decrease the text size as well. I think the Figma design was perfect. Okay, so now we have the features section. We just need to give it some space from the top and the bottom. Go to advanced and set the top padding to like 100 pixels, from bottom to 100 pixels. So it should have some breathing room between the content. Okay, so I think now it's responsive and perfectly aligned. Just need to adjust the size for the heading for the mobile screen. Like it's 36 pixels. I think it's pretty much the same. Okay, so let's get back. Okay, now the next section on this file is stats section, which has some screens. We can simply import this as a singular image, and then we can design these stat boxes. Okay, so let's move on to the next section, which is this one over here, the stat boxes. Okay, it's pretty simple, but with a twist of gradients and fading effects that I'll show you in a bit. Now create a new container with two column structure. Set its background color to the primary one, and now we need to first export this image. You can export it as a whole. Select this group over here, and I'll export it at 1.5x crisp image. And before doing anything, I'll compress this one. Okay, I'll move this one to the assets folder, and I'll call this one screenshots. and select the left container, go to style and set this image as a background. Okay, now position to top center, repeat to no repeat, display size to cover, and let's set a minimum height of 600 pixels to this container. And to remove the gap between this image, you need to go to the advanced tab, select the parent container. I'll call this stats, and remove the padding from this container, and we need to make this one smaller, so like it's 40% and 60% to the right column. Okay, so now we have to add in this text over here, and add a heading element, use the div wrapper for this one. Okay, it's text, uh it's so secondary text, basically open sans, 16 pixels semi bold. Okay, so 16 pixels semi bold, and I'll add in extra padding to this container, and let's align the items to the center, and let's add in another heading element. It's 48 pixels semi bold. Okay, 48 pixels semi bold, and line height is set to 60%. And let's align the text to the center. And now for these stat boxes, let me select one. We have a fading effect for them, like it's looking like the border is fading away at the bottom. So to achieve this effect, there are a couple of ways that you can use custom css and etc, but I'll try to stick to the Elementor itself and try to achieve that. For that, I'll add in a new container, set its direction to row, and then add in another container, and I'll set its width to 45%. And let's navigate to the styles, borders, and let's apply border with accent color, and I believe the border radius is 12 pixels. Okay, so 12 pixels of border radius. Now I'll add in some padding, 20 pixels. Okay, now add in a heading element, and I'll use div container for this one. Okay, let's copy this, and let's check the font size, 60 pixels bold. And it's using open sans, 60 pixels bold, and line height I believe is 72. Okay, that's correct. Now align it to the center, and now let's copy in the other text, and I'll use the div container for this one as well, and let's use the text color white, and I'll use the same open sans text for this one. It's 18 pixels, and semi bold, navigate it to the center, and let's reduce the gap between elements to like 10 pixels to make them a bit closer, but I think have a white space, or we can reduce it to 15 pixels. It's basically 12 pixels gap between these two elements, so we can safely use 12 pixels of gap between these elements. Now we need to add in some extra padding from the bottom to have a fading effect appear properly. Now to add in that fading effect, just drag in a new container over here and then navigate to the advanced, and I'll call this one stat box, and I'll call this one overlay. Okay, so select this overlay container, navigate to the advanced and set its position to absolute and to the vertical orientation to the bottom. Now for we need to add a gradient color for this container, and I'll use the primary color for both of the values, and then I'll uh, reduce the opacity to 0 for this upper color. Okay, now we need to go to advanced and make sure its z index value is set to 0. Now select the other elements, go to advanced and set their z index value to higher than zeros like 1, 2 or etc. Okay, so now these texts are on top of that overlay, but still we need some adjustments, like from bottom we need to add in a negative value of like 10 pixels, and from left we can add in a negative value of like 5 pixels. Now to tackle the right side of this container, we need to go to the layout, and first let me set a minimum height of 180 pixels, or 180 pixels is too high. It's like 140 pixels should be enough to basically cover enough space that the whole container is covered. Okay, now for width we need to add in a custom value, so we can add uh, the the value from the left and the right into the full width of this container. Okay, now so instead of using 100% over here, click on this drop down and select this pencil icon, and now we will use CSS calculation method. Type cal and two round brackets, and inside them I'll add 100%, give a space, plus sign, and then we need to add in values to cover for both sides. Like if we add plus 10 pixels, it should cover uh, whole container, like we have given minus 5 pixels from the left. And so to compensate that, we need to add in plus 10 pixels to this container's width, so it can span over this whole container to give us this fading effect that is being applied on the whole container. Now you can adjust the location of your both colors, like if you want to have larger fading area, then you can toggle this slider to match your requirement. Okay, let's just publish this one and let me make it 80%. Okay, so now if we look at it, it's basically exactly the same thing that is being shown over here. And the last thing that is remaining is the gradient effect on the text as well. So I have already created this simple CSS code for you that we can just copy. It's available in the same file that contains the gradient border CSS. This is the CSS class. Just copy these rules from over here and paste them over here. Now we just need to use this gradient text class onto any element that has text. It will apply a gradient effect onto that text. Okay, select this text element, go to advanced and just paste in your class. So we have a gradient text effect as well. Okay, so now you can play around further to refine your design as per your choice. Now I'll just copy in the text and duplicate these stat boxes, and before that call this one box, and we need to make sure the wrap is on. Duplicate. Oh, sorry, we have just renamed the home containers and which messed up some stuff. Okay, so uh here is our row for stat boxes. I will need to make sure that the wrap is on, and then we can just duplicate this one. Since we have already applied a 45 pixel width to these boxes, so they should automatically be aligned side by side. And I think we may need to increase the width a bit, like 46, 47. Or we can assume 48 pixels would also work just fine. Or okay, 48 is fine. Copy, paste style, paste style. So now we have equal sized stat boxes, and now we can add in other text. Okay, so I think we need to add some further spacing to this right container, and I unlink this one and add in 60 pixels of padding from top, and or we can just see 96 pixels. So we can set something like 90 from top and 90 from the bottom. So it should feel exactly the same. Okay, let's publish this one, and we are done with this section as well. Now the next section is this review section over here, which is fairly simple. Let me add in a new container, and I think it uses the similar header section over here, and so we can just copy this one from here, create in a new container, paste it over here. Okay, so align the items to the center and set the same 100 pixels padding from top and bottom to this container and call this reviews. I need to make them bold. Okay, so now we need to add these images. We can add them as images in a slider that I have shown in the beginning of the video. These are basically simple images and we can use simple CSS code to animate them. So let me just export this one first. So to do that, first of all, I'll uncheck this box that clips the content. And now in each of these container contains the review images. Just select, go to export, export them as like 2x so we have a crisp sharp image. But it's still cutting the image from the left, and let's select this main parent container layer and turn off this clip content so we can export these images fully. Okay, to export them all at once, select all of these by control or holding the shift button, then click on export and select the format to like 2x and click on this export 4 layers. So it will export all of the images at once. Okay, now we can move them into the assets folder. And let's further align them into a subfolder. I'll call this one reviews. And now we can also compress these images. Okay, now these images are compressed. Okay, now I'll create a new container over here. Not here, outside the heading section. And I'll call this one reviews. Okay, so first let me take a look at the CSS so we can plan our containers accordingly. Okay, so we need to have a parent container for animated reviews. Then we need a further container inside that container which is called group, and for inside that group each row should have just images inside. Okay, so I'll copy this CSS code from here. Okay, and now add in the customizer. Okay, so this container is animated reviews container, the parent container. Copy the animated reviews class and paste it over here. Then I'll add in another container, which is group. You can rename these classes to further unique ones to avoid any kind of issues with third-party plugins or third-party CSS. Go to classes and call this one group. Now for the group, we'll add another container. Now each row will have these images. Call this row. Go to advanced and add in a class row. Now I'll remove the padding from the parent container and call this Google reviews. Call this group. And now we need to just add in image elements over here. Okay, set width to this image element like 200 pixels or 300 pixels. Okay, now just duplicate duplicate and change the images. Publish this one, and we need to reload it for this CSS code to take effect from the customizer. Okay, so you can see we have images scrolling and stopping on mouse over. Okay, now we need to make some adjustments. For example, let's navigate to the advanced tab of the image element and I'll set it to default. Let's try adjusting that for all of them. Default, default, default. Okay, so let's just increase the number of images inside this row. Okay, and now we can also reduce the gap between elements from here because CSS is already taking place. Okay, now for each row just duplicate and duplicate. I have applied CSS to look for even rows, and the direction will be different for each even row for the animation direction. And I think we can remove the background color from this container. Okay, to have it more, to make it blend with the background. Okay, so now we can simply export all of these other images, and we can also further reduce the gap between rows to like 0 from here as well. Now just export in your other reviews. I'll click on plus 2x export 5 layers. Okay, so I have added all of the other review images, and now you can see we have an amazing review slider over here, which also has a mouse over effect. Now let's navigate to this other section, which should be pretty easy. It's a FAQ section, and let me just navigate over here, and I'll add in a new container. It has a similar heading section, so I'll add in a new container, and we'll copy the heading container from over here. Okay, and align the items to the center, and I'll add in another container for the content. So let's call this one FAQs. Okay, now we have a default accordion available in the Elementor, so we can simply use it. It's just that it has a single column layout, and we have a dual column layout over here. We can use a custom CSS for this purpose. First of all, let me add in text. Okay, now let's style this a bit. Go to the styles and space between items set to like 15 pixels. Okay, so border type is none, and background color is white. Okay, and padding is like 20 pixels, and that what's the border radius? It's 16 pixels. Okay, and for content, background color is white, border type is none, and border radius should be set from bottom and left. Okay, and we don't have a box shadow option for this one. Like they have some box shadow assigned to them. We can either use custom CSS or leave it be. Okay, let's see if we have an option to uh, add two column layout by default. And what's the font setting for this one? And it's 18 pixels. 18 pixels, medium. Okay, and now we need to adjust the border radius. It's basically it have some issues with the border radius, like if we set it to overall, then the content will have a cut off from the edges, so we need to make it like uh, bottom and left value should be set to 0, but then it will have the cutoff effect when the uh, it's not toggled. So once it's toggled, it will show us a perfect round, but when it's not toggled, it will not show us some the full round option. So what we need to do, we need to obviously apply some custom CSS so we can have the layout that we want. Like if it's toggled, then it should not show this cut of sections. So and before doing that, I'll adjust the heading 22 pixels. Okay, let's publish this one, and I'll reload this over here, and then I can apply some custom CSS to this FAQ section. But before that, let's just apply our custom class, like I'll call it WPAC accordion. Okay, let's publish this one. I'll provide the modified CSS code, so you can just simply use it as is. Now we should have a CSS class applied to this section. Now I'll just quickly write down the CSS. Okay, so we have finally managed to achieve something similar over here. Now I'll just copy this CSS code and I'll provide in for you to use. Okay, and the link goes to the style guide text file. Okay, so now this section is also complete. I'll reload this one, and we need to make sure that the mobile responsiveness should not be disturbed. I'll add in a rule for mobile devices. Let me update this in the file as well. Okay, let me just reload this one more time. Okay, so now we can adjust its some settings, like interactions all collapsed, so they should look fine. And we need to remove the gap space between items from here, since we have already added it through the CSS code. So now we have a similar review section as well. And you can also further fine tune the layout depending on your requirement. So publish. You can also use the default accordion and have a single column layout if you want, or you can create, instead of using this CSS code, you can simply uh, create two columns and use two different accordions, however you prefer. There are dozens of ways to do the same stuff. Okay, let me just turn on the clip content for this. Okay, now the last section on this page is this download section. Okay, so let's quickly create that. I'll add in some margin from the top, like 100 pixels. Okay, and navigate to the styles, background, and I think we have accent light color. Okay, and the heading section is still the same, just a minor color tweaks. Okay, and we need to add in the padding from top and bottom to this container as well. So now it says download. Get chatty now. Okay, so now these are basically simple images that we can drop in a container. Okay, align the items to the center, and I'll add in an image element over here. And to export these, we can select all of these layers and then click on export 2x as PNG, export 3 layers. Okay, and let's compress these one as well. Nothing should go to your website uncompressed. Stop compressing media after you have uploaded them. Start compressing before even uploading them. I think we can move this container inside this as well. So turn it into a row, align the items to the center. Let's duplicate, and let's change the images. Okay, now you can just add in the links in the custom URL to link these buttons with your designated or target URL. Let me just reduce the space or we can reduce it to 0, so the buttons already have some spacing, so now it looks just fine. So publish this one. Okay, finally we have designed the whole landing page with some custom CSS animations. Now the two parts that are remaining are the header and the footer and the header. Okay, so now we can safely turn on the canvas, and I'll use the Elementor full width page layout. Now we can design our custom header. I am using Elementor Pro. If you are not using Elementor Pro, then you can use any third-party header footer builder like Astra header footer builder. They have, I believe, renamed the plugin to something else, but you can find it on the WordPress repository, and there are element kits and other plugins that allows you to build header and footers using Elementor. So I'll create the header and the footer by using Elementor's theme builder. Navigate to the theme builder. Okay, navigate to the header section, and we can add a new template, and I'll call this header, and let's create a navigation menu. Go to appearance, menus. These are not actual pages, I am just adding dummy links. Okay, and now we need to export the logo as well. To export, and I'll export it at 2x. Okay, now let's reload this page. Okay, now we need to create a header, which is basically 3-column layout. Add in container. I'll call this header, and make sure that you have selected the HTML tag header as well. Okay, so now I'll just add in a background color for now, just to see the stuff. Then it's basically going to be a transparent header. Okay, so now I'll add in a container, convert it to a row, and then I'll add another container. All this row, and this one column, and I'll duplicate these. Okay, so in the left side we can add in a navigation menu that we have created, and the center we can add a site logo, which we can choose over here. Let's reduce its width to like 120, 140 pixels. Okay, now for the row, I'll remove the padding and I'll align the items to the center. Okay, and now for the text, let's see. 16 pixels semi bold, 16 pixels semi bold. Okay, and the text color is obviously white, and we can choose this icon instead of the default to match with the Figma file. Okay, I think the font weight is also a bit lower, like medium is fine. And for pointer, we need to set it to none. Okay, so you can further style the drop down, etc., depending on your requirement or choice. And for hover, I will set the accent light color. Okay, and here you can style the drop down. Okay, I think that's fine. Now on the right side we have a button, and basically two buttons, a login button and start chatting button. And I think we can copy this button style from over here, paste it over here. Okay, now select this column, align the items to the end, and I think we need to set it to default. Okay, now we can call it start chatting, and for the icon we can use a circle, plain circle, and let's change its color to, I don't think we have a specific option to change the color of the icon only. So let's adjust the text first. And the gradient effect is also a bit different. So you can just, if you want to switch the only the gradient colors or effect, you can use the same classes and you can append a secondary class to it. Like I'll use the same rule, this one over here, and I'll concatenate another class with it, like secondary. Okay, now just copy this CSS line, and from to bottom to, we can say something like to top, or we can just simply reverse the colors. I'll add this CSS code to the file as well. Okay, publish this one. Now we just need to add this secondary class along with the border class. uh, Let me just publish this one and reload this page so we can have updated css from the customizer. Okay, now go to the edit button and just give a space and add in another class which is secondary. Now the border uh, should be, the color should be reversed. Okay, so now I think we need to adjust some padding. We can see over here, it's 18 and 10. Or we can have 12 pixels from all sides. Okay, reduce the font size to like 16 pixels. And for icon, we need to make some adjustment at the CSS end, since we don't have any control which Elementor should add in, since it's too old of a widget in Elementor and they haven't done much work to it. So I'll also adjust the margins for this one as well. Okay, -1 pixels I believe is fine. And we also need to adjust. Okay, z index is already adjusted. So now what we can do is inspect this, and we have this button icon. We can change its color. No, basically we cannot change its color because it's being used as SVG, so we don't have any control. So we can simply export in our own dot from here. Go to export and use export it as SVG. Export the dot. Okay, and add it over here. And now let's publish this one, reload this one. Now we can upload our own SVG. Okay, so I think it's now fine. Okay, now we just need another link for login, and we need to convert this into a row. Okay, okay, now we can just remove the colors, or we may need to explicitly set it to transparent. Okay, I think everything is aligned perfectly. We just need to make uh, the responsive variant of this header. So let me just toggle this and let's reduce the size of this container like 100 pixels. And in the Figma design, we have a menu link, menu text appeared alongside the button as well, but we don't have any option to set any text along with the toggle button. So we have to rely on only the button. Go to the style and toggle button, and we need to change the color of the text to white. Okay, and for mobile, let's align the image to the left, and I think we have pretty much covered everything for the tablet. Just now toggle to the mobile device and set it to like 60 pixels explicitly, and this one to, and select the row that contains the header columns and make sure to set it to no wrap, and then we can hide the login button on the mobile. Go to the advanced, responsive, and hide on tablet and portrait. Okay, and I'll hide it from the editor as well. Okay, so now we can adjust the font size a bit, like set it to 14 pixels. Select the row and remove the gap between columns. Okay, and now we can further reduce the image size, or we can export this icon only, that is over here. That logo for mobile basically is only the icon. Let me export this one to 2x png. And we actually don't have any option to set different logo for the mobile by from the default site icon settings. We may need to use a custom image instead of the site logo. So let's revert back to the desktop, and I'll delete this site logo and I'll use a simple image element over here for the logo. Okay, so this is a logo. Set the width to like 140 pixels. Okay, now toggle. For tablet, I think it's fine. For mobile, we need to use that icon. So now we can go to advanced, responsive, and hide this image on the mobile. Then let's duplicate and go to advanced, responsive, and hide this one on mobile and desktop and portrait. Okay, so let me hide this one from here as well. Now we can change the image. Advanced, grow. Oh, I think grow is not fine for this. Okay, so now we can reduce the width of this container to like 70 pixels or 80 pixels, and now I can adjust the image width to like 60 or 80. Okay, now I think everything is fine, just like the header. Just we don't have this option to set a custom text to this drop down toggle, but by the time you are watching, maybe Elementor to decide to add it into the core. So now let's just select the header and let me reload this one. Okay, so some elements are hidden desktop and some are hidden on the mobile devices, so it will actually load out the correct elements on each screen resolution. Now just go to style and remove the color that we have set to this container. Go to advanced and go to motion effects and turn on the sticky top, and I think we can use it for all of the screens. Let's publish. Okay, now let's reload this home page. Okay, we have a sticky header, but we need to make some adjustments, like some negative margin should be applied to this container. Or we can do another thing like going to advanced and setting its position to fixed and top, publish. So in this case, we will not have to apply negative margin to the hero container. Okay, we just need to add in some padding from the top to this hero container to have some more breathing room for this text. Okay, navigate to the advanced tab and add in the padding value as you like. Okay, so I think it's fine. Now we need to add in a custom background color when it's scrolled down, because we cannot see the header's content when it's scrolling down. So select this container, go to motion effect and go to styles, and I think we need to add some custom CSS. Go to advanced and add in a class. I'll call this sticky header. Let's have a look at our website, and we need to set this container to full width instead of box. Okay, okay, now when you scroll down, Elementor header applies a specific class when it's when sticky effect is applied on the header from the motion effects. Where it is? Okay, go to advanced motion effects, and when this effect is applied, a CSS class is also added to the container. So we just need to look out for that class, and then we need to add in a background color for the header. Okay, uh, motion effects and set the sticky offset and effects offset to like 500 or 300. Okay, now once we have scrolled past 300 pixels, it will apply a class to the header. Let me just first select the header container, which is over here. It should add effect, but I think since we have used the position fixed, it is not adding that effect. Let me just revert it to the default. Okay, let's just reload this one. Okay, so now the effect is being applied. So I think we need to go to the we need to use the other route to like adding negative margin to this hero container to achieve the ultimate goal, which is the content of the header should be visible when scrolled down. So you can see over here when we are scrolling, it's adding in an effect. Okay, so the class is being applied is this one, Elementor sticky effects. Okay, so we can just add in our CSS over here. I'll add it at the very top. Okay, okay, so when this class triggers, we can add a background color to the header. So let's just pick the color, which is this one. Okay, now let me reload this one. And now once the effect is applied, the CSS class is introduced on the header, it will automatically add in a background color to that header, so we can have the content visible. Okay, let me just reload this one and let's adjust the negative margin of the hero containers to fill in the gap. Okay, go to advanced and set a negative margin like 100 should be enough. You should not exceed, just have it like, close to the value of the actual header height. Okay, so now we can see we have a header that is sticky, that is also changing color when scrolled down, and we have all of the other elements in place on this home page that are basically perfectly aligned in every aspect. Now we can quickly build the footer, which is pretty simple, nothing fancy going around here, and I don't think we will need any custom CSS code for this one. So let's head back to the theme builder and footer, add the footer, and let's see if we have something similar already available in the Elementor's template library. I don't think so. Let's rename this one to footer, and then inside the footer we have two rows. Okay, set the background color, I think, which is our primary color, and add in an extra padding from top and bottom. And add in a container. Let's call this one footer, and make sure you have selected the HTML tag footer for this one. Okay, now I'll call this widgets, or we can call this simply a row. Duplicate this one. Okay, so we have 1, 2, and 3 columns in each row. Mm, okay, just duplicate and duplicate. On the left side we have logo that I think we have already uploaded. And for links we can either create a menu from the backend, like menu we have created for the header, or we can simply use the icon list widget. Let me just drop in another container over here, and I'll turn this into a row, and can use icon list element, just removing the icon from the list and just add in the text. Go to the advanced, set its width to custom 48%, and duplicate this one. Now we have two menus side by side. Okay, now I think we need to adjust its color to something darker like border, or we can look over here for the text color. Okay, I think it's using white, but somehow it looks different. The font size is 16 pixels, and space between should be like 10. Okay, now we have a subscribe but form over here, and just copy this, paste. I'll call this subscribe. And Elementor Pro have a built-in form widget. You can use any other third-party plugin for subscription forms and etc. So it's just the email, and I should hide the labels, and it should be set to 75%. And for the button, I'll use arrow, or we can use exact arrow, or we can we also have some arrow icons. I think we don't need to use this custom one. Okay, so submit button should be empty, and medium, and column width should be set to 25%. Okay, I think large should work. And go to styles, buttons, text padding set to 0. Okay, and think we need to increase the size of the icon. Okay, so now go to fields or forms. Column gap should be set to 0, and now to give this effect from border radius from left and only button from the right, we can simply do that by going to fields and set the border radius overall to 12 pixels, and then remove from the right and bottom, and we should do the same for the button, like setting it to 12 pixels and then removing it, the border radius from top and the left value, so it should look similar to the one we have in the Figma file. Condition, but it will have some, we need some adjustments on the mobile. I'll show you in a bit. Now we have some social icons and this text and another menu. Okay, so let's quickly create that, and we have a border from top as well, or we can say we can use a divider between them instead of playing with the border. Let's just okay, set the color. Okay, the color is set to white with 20% opacity, so we can decrease it like this one. Okay, weight should be set to 2. Okay, now in this row we have social icons, text, and a menu. Okay, so add in our social icons, go to style and set the custom color. Primary color should be set to the default one, and from shape we need to select circle. And we can apply a border. Let's see which color of the border. It's our accent color. With 25% opacity. Okay, I think that's fine. spacing like 10 pixels, and okay, so now you can just simply add in more buttons. Okay, now we need to add in a text, and I'll use the heading element with the div. Select this row and adjust the items to the center, and then set this to space between. Okay, now I'll copy this text from here. Okay, now we have another menu. We can use the same icon list widget, and this time turn it into an inline element and just add in your links. I'll remove the icon as well. Terms and conditions. Okay, I'll go into the style, text, color should be white, font size should be set to 16 pixels, and we can have a divider between them just like we have over here, and we can adjust its color. And we can also adjust the divider's height like 50% or 60%. Okay, and then space between be like 15, 20 pixels. Okay, okay, now to make all of these equal sized, we need to use containers. Like if you can notice, the spacing is not equal between them. So let's just drag in a container and move each element inside a container. Okay, select the row, go to elements, double click a container. It should add a parent level container inside the row. Okay, now finally add the last one. Okay, now we should have equal sized containers, and we can simply align the content between these containers as per our requirement. Okay, so let's drag this over here and adjust the text to the center, and for this container align the content to the right. Now it has equal spacing, and to cover up more space we can add in some extra social icons. Okay, I think that's fine. Now we have a footer. Let's make sure it's fully responsive. For tablet, I think to use we need to have these containers set to like 48% and 48, and this one to 100, and go to the row and make sure the wrap is on. Okay, and for these, let's set them all 100%. And turn the wrap for this as well. Align the content to the center. Okay, so I think we have a pretty defined footer as well. You can also change the order of these containers, like if you go to advanced and set its order to start, so the subscription box will appear on top of these containers. Okay, so let's publish this one, and now we have a footer as well. Okay, so now let's make the final adjustments on the home page. And I think we should use an image carousel instead of these static images. This will give us more control over mobile. Like, the carousel is better. Adjusting all of these images should be hard. And let me just delete this one, and now we can use an image carousel over here instead of the static images. And now we can add in the logos. Okay, full size and none. Slides to show 6 or 5 would be enough. 8 is fine, and gap should be more. Okay, so now we can have some more control over mobile devices. Okay, so now let's start adjusting the responsive issues. First of all, you can see on the mobile it's pretty different layout, and for desktop it's pretty different. So all we need to do is make a duplicate of this hero section and adjust for mobile separately. Now toggle between these buttons and set this to tablet portrait, and then for the hero make a duplicate, and I'll call this hero mobile. But don't worry, we don't have to do this for all of the other sections, since this is a complex section which has some animations that usually works only on desktop devices, and the structure is a bit different, and for mobile it's totally different structure with different data. So let's turn off this hero section, or we can call this hero desktop and hero mobile. Now go to advanced responsive and hide this hero desktop on mobile and tablet. Okay, so now we have this hero mobile, which should be hidden on the desktop by default. Think we need to publish and reload this once. Okay, now we have a full playing area, And you can see we can simply remove these other elements from here. And hero mobile content should be aligned to the center or top. And this is the text we have, and I think it needs to be reduced to like 62 or 52. Okay, or we can add in some extra padding for this container. Now we need to simply add this action buttons. We can copy them from here. Okay, make it full width. We can make it like 600 pixels. Select the main container, align items to the center, and we need to adjust its padding, and background color should be removed. Okay, now we just need a robot image over here. That should be in the main container. Select the main container, double click an image element, and you should have the image below everything. Okay, so now we can use this full bot image over here, and let's see. Okay, so we can now simply remove the negative margin or decrease the negative margin for this. And let me just remove the padding, and we can simply stop playing with the negative margin for this for mobile and tablet devices all along. Let me just reduce its size to like 500 pixels. Okay, so now select the hero mobile, go to styles, and remove the border radius entirely. Okay, now for this one, go to layout full width, and then I'll set this to 100% as well. Okay, so now we can have lower number of slides to show by default. Okay, now it should be fine once reloaded. Okay, now I think we have adjusted everything. Just check it for the mobile. Obviously the font size needs some adjustment, and I'll just do that. 32 pixels should be enough. Line height should be 42 pixels. Let's reduce the size for this as well, like 16 pixels. Okay, and we can set this to no wrap and adjust the font sizes to fit the buttons. Okay, I think it's quite fine, quite similar to the one we have over here. Just minimum height of the hero mobile should be adjusted to like something like 600, and we should also remove the border radius from this container, and let's show two logos. Mobile, Okay. Okay, now I think we also need to adjust some padding from top. Should be around 80 pixels. That should work fine. And I think we have rest of the stuff covered pretty well. Okay, now let's scroll down to the other sections. I think we just need to add some padding from the left and the bottom to these containers and reduce the value from top and the bottom like 50 pixels, and from left and right it should be 20 pixels. Okay, and we can just let me just reload this page once. Okay, I think we messed up this container, and okay, I think now that's fine. I was worried where all of this extra padding is coming from. Now we also need to adjust these. We'll do it in a bit. Okay, so I think we should copy this one, and since it's a similar container we can add paste style on to this container as well. Okay, now we need to adjust some stuff over here. And the reviews, it should, the overflow should be hidden. Some padding needs to be added on the heading section over here. Okay, so for this section, let's see, we have, okay, so the image is applied on the whole background and we have some text on top of it. So we can hide this container and we can make this container a full width. Okay, and we also need to make sure go to advanced responsive and hide this container from mobile and tablet. Okay, now we can add in the background image. Go to onto the parent container, go to the styles, and we can use this image over here, and it's only applied to the tablet portrait. Or we can use a background overlay instead of using the image. We can use it as a background overlay. Okay, just have it a bit close to 0.05% of opacity as a background overlay. And now we have a similar section. Okay, so now this section needs some adjustment on the CSS level as well. I'll navigate over that in a moment. Okay, 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 it's fine on tablet, and let's just now navigate to the mobile. And I think we have pretty messed up stuff over here, and let's just start adjusting bit by bit. Okay, I think everything else is fine. We just need to make adjustments to this CSS slider over here. Rest of the stuff is just fine. It's perfectly aligned automatically. Now let's tweak, apply the final tweaks to this slider. So you can see actually the tablet and mobile screens are pretty perfectly aligned. We just need to adjust these over here. So go to additional CSS, and here it is. So we need to play with the width of these containers and some other stuff. I'll add in the rules, and then I'll provide you the final CSS code uh, into the file. You should not have to do that. You will get the final modified CSS. Okay, we also need to make sure that these review rows does not have a wrap. So that should also resolve some stuff for us. Okay, now let me just reload this, and I'll toggle between the tablet. Okay, so I think it's self-healed pretty much. Just need to have some final adjustments like the space between these elements. Okay, so now we have reviews section customized as well. I have modified the CSS code that I should be updating in the file as well. Let's add this code to the actual CSS so you can have this modified or updated CSS code for this image slider. Obviously, you can add further enhancements to this code on your own, and you can also share with us if you have some other customizations that you think are better than this method that we have provided in here. Okay, so now we should see appropriate sections with appropriate widths so we can further adjust their styling. Okay, I think it's pretty much fine. You can also uh, make the accordion full width mobile. I think that I have already done that. And go to styles, just need to adjust its font sizes a bit. And one thing more, we had icon at the end instead of the start. Okay, you can add custom icons for expanded and collapsed variants. You can use your own custom SVG file, or you can use the default library over here. Okay, so I think now every rest of the stuff is also modified and customized. Just need to have these adjusted. The padding is too much. Okay, great. Now we have finally created our animated chatbot landing page using Elementor from the Figma file, and it has all of the stuff that we wanted to achieve from that Figma file with some cool animations. You can further enhance the animations, or I can see some sections still needs a bit of adjustment, like the padding between these two containers is a bit high, and we just need to remove the padding from one end, and the spacing should also be adjusted over here. Okay, now you can add further animations to the containers, like going to advanced motion effects, and you can add some entrance animations, cool entrance animations. Go to advanced motion effects, fade in town, and I'll add in a delay, and you can also add some appearance animation to these as well. Go to advanced motion effects, entrance animation, and you can use in something like zoom in, and I'll add in a delay over here as well. Okay, so and you can also add in animations to these containers. Go to motion effects, entrance animation, fade in, entrance animation to fade in up, fast motion effects, entrance animation, fade in up, add in a delay of like 300 ms. Which should be multiplied for each box to appear one after another. So now we have a fully ready animated chatbot landing page that you can use for your projects. Either it's AI based or a simple landing page for a product. You can take inspiration from it. You can use certain elements from this tutorial in different implementations of your projects, like these animated circles, sliders, and some other cool stuff that I have shown you in this video tutorial, like gradient text and gradient borders, etc. Now you can simply download the style guide file from the video description. use all of those CSS codes that I have written for you. And you can also support us by purchasing this ready-made template. If you decide to only purchase the assets folder that I have exported from the Figma file, then you can have it in any price you want, just even $1 or 100. It's basically to show us some support from your end so we can keep making these amazing video tutorials for you. And if you want this ready-made template for Elementor that you can quickly import, then you can purchase it just for $15. So I hope you have enjoyed watching this video, and if this video is helpful to you somehow, then hit the like button, subscribe, and make sure to hit the bell icon so you won't miss any amazing video tutorials from us. So happy designing with Elementor, and I'll see you in another video.